The answer is I agree with her to a degree, but I don't think she goes anywhere near far enough, because anonymity is not enough to protect these officers from the concern that they might be exposed to legal process. It's prosecution that's the main problem. Anonymity is only a side issue in the grand scheme of things. And I think it's important, if you don't mind me giving me a minute or so, just
sure,
so your listeners are all aware of what happened. So, and I'll read a very brief summary of the incident as it happened, as it unfolded on the day. Kaba, the deceased, was driving an Audi Q8 that officers believe was linked to a firearms incident the previous day. The police stopped the car. Armed police approached on foot. Kaba then rammed an unmarked police car, as I think we may be able to see here.
Yeah.
An armed officer fired a single round at Kaba through the car windscreen, and Kaba was taken to hospital and died of his injuries. So there are the circumstances. You have armed police who honestly and reasonably believe that they are dealing with an armed incident, an armed person in that vehicle who represents an immediate danger of life to them and to any bystander. In those circumstances, about 13 seconds after initially approaching the vehicle, Kaba was shot. And he was shot whilst actively attacking the police using a moving motor vehicle and a high-performance motor vehicle. One of the most dangerous weapons on our streets are motor vehicles. They can cause death in an instant, as we all readily understand. So that's what the officers, and including Martin Blake, were facing when they approached that vehicle. An honest belief there's a gun involved, or there may be a gun in the car, and someone is actively ramming police cars with a vehicle.
And repeatedly as well. Sorry, just repeatedly ramming. I mean, I didn't, until I saw that footage yesterday. I remember the arrest being made in 2022. Sorry, the incident in 2022. And at no time was it described in the way that it actually looked. You know, the suggestion was the police stopped a man, and as a result of a situation, he ended up getting shot, which obviously made it look as though the police had done something wrong. But when you see this guy, he's not just ramming a police vehicle. He's going backwards and forwards. He's hitting a car behind him. He's hitting one in front of him. He's trying to escape as well.
Yeah, I mean, the trying to escape wouldn't justify shooting him dead. We don't have a law that permits officers to shoot people purely to stop them escaping. There has to be an immediate perception of a risk to life before a firearms officer opens fire. But the point I was going to make was that immediate decision to open fire in that split-second period is the most critical period of duty for any firearms officer. Firearms officers go on duty every single day. Most days, they are not deployed to incidents where they believe firearms are going to be used against them. Most days, they don't face violent criminals trying to ram them and cause injury or damage to police officers using a high-performance vehicle. Most days, those things don't happen. But when they do happen, on the days they happen, that's when the public needs those officers to be free to make decisions in the split-second moment which they honestly believe are necessary to protect the public and to protect themselves and their colleagues. This officer, on any reasonable assessment of this evidence, fired a single shot in circumstances where the officers were clearly in danger. And in my view, this case should never, ever have been anywhere near a criminal prosecution.
Yes.
That's the real problem here. Anonymity is all very well, but that's not going to solve very much in the long term. What's going to solve the problem that we've created here, which is armed officers handing in their tickets for firearms and refusing to go on firearms duty because they are afraid of spending 20 years in prison in the conditions that police officers spend their time when they go to prison. And that's not even the conditions of an ordinary prisoner. Right. Police officers are high-risk prisoners. They're placed with sex offenders on Rule 43. And the idea that any police officer with a firearm is going to open fire where there's a realistic prospect that he's going to go to prison for 20 years for murder in those conditions is frankly ridiculous. These prosecutions need to stop unless an officer acts way beyond the bounds of his training and of good police practice. That officer should never face prosecution, in my view.
Right.